Okay. I'm real happy to be here tonight with everybody. We're going to talk about a topic that people usually have a lot of questions about when they're getting ready to put out their first one or two publications, and it's marketing and promotions. And so I've got some information that I've pulled together, but I'm counting on the folks here tonight to sort of give us a little insight into what maybe they've tried and what has worked, what hasn't worked, and maybe what they're thinking of it, because we're coming up in December. People do a lot of marketing and sales of their books. So it's a kind of a good time for this topic. And I'm just going to jump right in here and do a share screen of my first thing. And I'm probably not going to read the whole silly thing, but I will use it as a guide. Let's see here. Back up here to the beginning would help, wouldn't it? Here we go. Get it out of the way a little bit. Marketing, I did a lot of research on the topic, and I've kind of pared it down to a little bit of information because so many of the different sources agreed and came up with the same sort of guidelines. So I thought, well, that's good enough for me. And so I thought that's what I would share with you. In general, they agree that one of your best ways of promoting your work and selling your stuff and getting out there and attracting clients is to set up a compelling website. Okay, I don't know that that comes as a big surprise to anybody, but from that website, then you can build an email list and market your services or your work or whatever to that audience. So it's good to have a good solid platform, in other words. You know, you want to be able to have a place for people to go back after they've become familiar with you, and they can keep following you and keep up with what you're doing. One of the ways that you can do is to write guest posts on authority sites. Now, I found that pretty interesting. They all seem to think that was a great idea. And I think it's because there are so many bloggers out there at this point that.
Linda?
Yes.
What is an authority site? I don't know what that is.
Well, if let's say, for instance, you're writing about ghosts, for instance, there's probably going to be more than one person out there who has a dedicated blog or a dedicated site to cover people seeing ghosts or writing about ghosts or anything. And they're sort of an expert on ghosts. And so if you're interested in that and you write about that, you may want to contact them and ask if you would be able to maybe submit to them a guest post. You know, when people send you out things or you hear from folks, you get a blog post or something, that's from their side and they're the originator, but they will oftentimes have guests submit their writing too. So you might do that as a guest. But it means that you're going to have to look for people who might be interested in your particular writing, your genre. Okay? That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. And then promote your content on social media. I've got a little more to say about that a little later because things have been shifting quite a bit, but that's sort of a way to tap into a lot of free publicity. I say a lot with kind of quote marks because there are so many people on social now, and so few of them have huge followings. And most people throw stuff out into, like me, throw stuff out into the ether and 5 or 6 people see it and that's about it. And it may be the same like in the case of the Guild, when I have my pages and I put stuff there, I may see the same 5 or 6 people looking at the stuff and responding and saying, hey, howdy, that was great. So it's not a huge market unless you really know how to use it. And a lot of people will post videos, for instance, on Facebook, and try to promote those to, they'll go and find the groups on Facebook that are people interested in whatever topic they're writing about. And then they'll get, maybe become a part of that group, and then they'll ask if they can. You always want to ask when you're in a group like that, if it's okay to post something about your video that you want to put up, and invite people to maybe go to a video event, or just to follow what you have to say that way. Then,
How do you find those groups, Linda?
pardon?
How do you find those type of groups?
You type in keywords up there when you're doing a search. You're up in that thing, and there's a, you know, it like says search, or it'll have the little magnifying glass that you see on some sites. And that's usually a search function. What you can do is go on Google and you search, put in keywords, like maybe put in ghosts, haunted, or whatever like that. And then whatever comes up there, you can see if there's organizations there. There may be an organization called Ghost Hunters of the United States. Then you
Okay,
go on to Facebook and type in Ghost Hunters of the United States and see if they have a presence on Facebook.
okay. Thank you.
So it's always, all of this stuff is going to be a matter of doing a step-by-step research to see if you can find what you're looking for. It's, again, like we were talking earlier, it's not easy. Okay, then on Scrib Media, or Scribe Media, I found they had done a lot of tests. They've literally gone on to book marketing sites and tested them to see what good they could do. Usually, I think they are, they deal a lot with ebook, these sites. But anyway, they're the top one. They said BookBub, they could add 300 to 500 sales during a campaign push to sell for customers. So then they covered Bargain Booksy and BookSense, and you can see these on the screen. Many books, Butterfly. Then they noticed some that did not work. They said, okay, maybe they got 2 or 3 sales out of one of these. And it just, maybe they had to pay a little bit for the promotion, and it just wasn't worth it. You know, it just got them almost nowhere. And they listed Awesome Gang and e-reader News Today and Fussy Librarian. So there's some out there that just don't work. And your best bet, especially if it involves money or any obligation to do the promotion without just with that site and not with others. Those are the 2 things you want to watch for. Is you want to make sure it's going to be worth your while. So look for reviews, check out. Usually you can go out and say, has anybody used Fussy Librarian for promotions? You can put that on Google, and something may come up that will tell you to go here and look for reviews or what have you. Okay. Then I went to Readsy. I love Readsy. They have so much wonderful stuff, and they do so many free things that they give you. Of course, they're hoping you'll kind of get in there and use their services of various types. But they listed, and I didn't list them all here, but there is a website right there. Now you can either write it down, or if you really want, I could send this out now. Let's see. I can send it out to this whole thing to you like I used to do or did before. But they found 68 free or low-cost promotional sites. Now, these are sites that they're like these up above here, and their whole reason for existing is as a book promotion service. So you can submit your book, you can arrange with them to do a promotion. Usually the promotion is involved with utilizing some large mailing list that they have. One of your things you want to be careful of is to try to see if they have narrowed it down to particular genres. Like, for instance, Joyce, it wouldn't do you much good to have them send out any kind of promotion to a bunch of people that were into, let me see, golfing, how to learn
Yeah,
to golf. Okay, so you're going to want to hone in on something that would, a group of people that they could reach, that would match what you're looking for, because you're interested in the whole idea, if I remember correctly, of reaching people about who've been adopted and things like that, right?
yeah, that's one of the things that people kind of, they stop and stare when I tell them what the book is about, and they go,
Yeah.
oh.
So
So,
you're going to want to find a certain group of people that will meet your needs. Okay. Anyway, then they also listed some additional resources and about cost of publishing your own book and all that. But the one that stood out that I wanted to share was how to run a price promotion. They have a free course, and you can go in there and follow the steps, and it's free. And they will teach you or talk to you about how to market through using a price promotion. So, for instance, you maybe spend 5 days where you promote. And I think Janet, have you done this, Janet?
No, I have not. Nope, I've never, nope.
Some of the people on the guild pages have done this, and I think it's something that both Frank and Eric have done quite a bit, which is to, whether it's through Amazon or through one of the social media or whatever, but you offer your book for the first 25 people. They can download it for free or for 99 cents or what have you. So because really, you're trying to straddle a line between, you don't want to give everybody everything for free or cheap, because then you'll not have any regular sales that will make you some money. But you also want to reach as many possible people as you can. And so by doing things like this, and they will highlight different ways of approaching price structuring for that purpose. But when you do this, you reach X number of people, but maybe they tell other people and people see the advertisement, even if they don't buy into it. They're going to see your book, see what it is, and maybe they'll be interested in it down the line. Now I'm going to stop the sharing here for a minute, because I'd like to, just kind of draw you guys in. If you have any particular questions about that portion, I'm going to switch over to more what I call real life rather than just all digital promotion. So what do you think?
Well, I have one comment as a person who seeks out authors, especially little known local authors.
Uh-huh.
If you don't have a website, I can't find you. Like, I mean, the reason that's number one for a reason. So as somebody who wants to host a conference or wants to invite you to come sell your book or wants you to do something, if I can't find you, you can't sell that book. So it's really important not just to have a website, but to have a way to contact you through the website as well.
How do we do that?
Do
Because
what?
I don't know how to contact, or I have a website, but I don't know that I have anybody visiting it. It's just very few
If
anyway.
you have a website, what you want to try to do is get connected with any organizations like the Guild is now doing with my website. I don't have a lot of followers, but I'm hoping to change that, because I'm going to be promoting the website for the Guild. And I've got a list of websites in there for authors. So it's a similar kind of thing where you try to find now, and plus, if you have a website, if you do all the other outreach, like if you get to be a guest poster on somebody's blog or their site, they will include that information there. In other words, you're going to have a history, and you're going to be able to say that you've written this, and that you write this kind of stuff, and that your website is here, And so people can reach you. So again, it's a matter of, it's like you just go out and find every opportunity where anybody will list, or any reason for them to list your website. And so you're piggybacking off of other people's connections. See,
Cool.
Marcia, you're muted, so you need to unmute.
Yeah, I've designed 2 websites, just very simple websites, but I've also found out that content is huge. You have to have a changing content, and for visitors to the website to want to return and then to see new books or new connections or whatever. So you need to have good content, and blogging, that's why so many people blog, because they find that others come and seek that content in their blogs, whether it's instruction or experience that they're relating in those blogs or what. That's big.
Yeah, I'm going to get into a little bit of that too, because that's actually, you believe it or not, the internet is a part of the real world end of stuff rather than digital. There is a difference between.
The other thing is, if you're not blogging consistently, then Google is not going to put your website up in a search, even if somebody is searching your name, because it's going to go, oh, you haven't updated this for 2 years. They're not going to want that. They're going to want something more recent. So yeah, I noticed with my website that if I was blogging at least once a month and hitting it as close to the first of the month as I could, that I would have way more views per month than if I skipped a month, or if I was not getting that post out till like the 15th. So, you know, it's not just type of content, but also trying to front load it and make sure that you're always coming up. There's always something new.
That's cool. Thank
And you
you.
don't always want it to be about you. Most of the successful bloggers are sending out information of some type, like I know that Patricia Meredith was here before she moved away. She came to the guild meetings, and her stuff was about the history of Spokane, and of course her books were about a mystery based on that. But she would cover all this information and these photographs that she dug up of places, you know, since the 1800s or whatever in Spokane. So people were interested in getting that and reading it because she did fill a lot of information in there.
I find that sucking up to the real big name authors on Twitter,
Uh-huh.
you know, the ones that got 15 to 50,000 followers, and becoming their good friend drives their followers hit my website a lot because they check out me on my website.
That's good. That's good.
I'm busily trying to set up a Facebook website now beside my personal one for the
Mhm.
publisher side of it, and we'll see how that goes. It's still in its infancy.
Yeah, I'm going to move into that other part of the thing. I did, let's see. Let me go. I'm going to click into this other one, which is social media marketing, because I've got some stuff there before I move on into the real world. And let's see. This one, every social media has its own strengths. In other words, it's aimed at certain kinds of people. And the social networks that connect with people are, I don't know, you can probably read this okay, but Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. The messaging apps are WhatsApp, Messenger, and WeChat. Photo media sharing, of course, is Instagram, Imgur, YouTube, and Vimeo. Blogging and publishing networks, long format content. Now that's where things like WordPress, where I have the guild, and HubSpot, Tumblr, and Medium, those are all places that are meant to have large articles or in-depth things as opposed to little twinkles. Let's see, discussion forums where people can share ideas, and there's got more of a Q&A aspect to it. The problem with Reddit and Quora and things like that is, in order to be, they have a thing going on which they call voting up and voting down. So a lot of times by either just uh, landing on your post or by actually voting for it, things, if they are very popular, they get moved up, they get more of attention. If they're not popular, then the people may say, I didn't like this, they'll vote it down. So there's a lot of competition that goes on with, so if you go on these discussion forums, you want to have a pretty exciting question to ask to see if people will respond to it. You don't want it to be, boring, like how many people own a cat, for instance. It wants to be, how many people have ever gotten a cat that a hairless cat that, or something like that, so you'll draw attention to certain people. Let's see, bookmarking and content curation. This is for discovering and sharing content. Pinterest and Flipboard, those a couple. Review networks for publishing reviews, Yelp and TripAdvisor. They're not necessarily for books, so that's the thing you want to look for. What is the content that they're really trying to get in their sites and share with others? Because TripAdvisor is about taking trips in other places and about books at all. I suppose you could squeeze in there if you had a travel book, for instance, but it's not really aimed at that. Social shopping networks, interest-based networks. Now there's a good one for books because these are places like Goodreads is focused on books and House is interior design. So let's see here, I gotta admit somebody in. And so if you, I am heavily into Goodreads because I do tons of book reviews for nationals. And so, and I'm way behind on posting them. I moved them from the main site where I send them to the industry people and I need to move them over onto Goodreads and I just haven't been doing it, keeping up. Been working with you guys instead. So, and it just goes, sharing it, kind of Uber, Airbnb, audio only apps, join discussions and it's all audio, anonymous social networks, people all post anonymously. I wouldn't go near that for anything. And here's one of the sources said, what are the 7 functions of social media? Identity, you want to have an identity in the public. You want to have conversations with people. You want to share things like pictures or videos. A lot of this stuff is for friends and they just want to share things. You want to have a presence. Some people are really into building a huge following so they can have a big social presence and be social influencers. I have only on Facebook, personally, I think I have a little over 200 friends. I don't go after friends. I don't try to, get them. That's just developed over time. Relationships, your reputation, social standing. One of the things that I discovered was when I went on LinkedIn, which really was of no interest to me whatsoever, but because somebody invited me to do that and wanted me on there, I said who I was with aunties, and from there I've gotten all sorts of people in the community, business people that have wanted to be part of my, whatever they call it, I don't know. Anyway, they want to join me on LinkedIn. So it's grown all by itself without me trying at all. Let's see, then there are, and so what there actually was when I researched at this point, 133 plus social media sites. So it's huge. And it's the kind of a nightmare getting in there, and you could get lost and go down so many rabbit holes, you can't believe it. But I just wanted to pop that in because it's a sideline on just the social media and that. Any thoughts on any of that jabbering that I was doing?
There's some good ideas.
Yeah, it's like the whole thing is like anything else with writing. It's just huge. It's just huge, and almost anything in our lives anymore. we look at it and we think of it in terms of social media, and it's just huge.
I have a question for Kalela.
Yeah.
Kalela, you mentioned getting your blog posted at the beginning of the month, so it'll, people will find it easier. How do you get people to find it? I mean, what, you go out in the street and grab people and say, hey, go find my blog?
No, I'm a little gentler than that. But so the website exists, and then I have it set up to auto publish to all of my social media platforms. So it goes to Facebook and Twitter automatically. I think I can put it on Instagram if I'm feeling like it. I can pin it to Pinterest if I'm feeling like it. And it goes to my personal page and my author page on Facebook. So then it's out there. Then I'm a member of a bunch of different groups. So there's like a women's writers group, or just like this one, the Inland Northwest Writers Guild. If there's something that I think is going to fit specific for a group, then I will drop a link in that group. So I could say, actually my most popular one, the one that comes up in search, because people, search results, is ISBNs, copyrights, and barcodes, oh my. So if somebody's like, I have a question about ISBN, I'm like, oh, here's the one I did on ISBN, and I drop it, and then people find it. But it is coming up in search results now, which is nice. So there's that. And then, so once you get some content out there, you're going to see what the people who come to your blog like. So like I said, for me, there's this really weird dichotomy. People either really, really like writing related stuff, or they really, really like pagan and witchcraft stuff. So number one is ISBNs, copyrights, and barcodes, oh my. And number two is the witches familiar.
ISBN. Say
Okay.
that one more time.
It's just a post. I can put it in the messages so that you can
Yeah,
see it.
I'd like to see that. Yes.
Yeah, that's just the most popular one. So, all right. Any other questions?
Has anybody had an experience with Book Talk? With Book Talk?
I know of it. It's a part of TikTok.
Yeah, I was just wondering if anybody's had experience with it. I've heard that it's really growing a lot in the YA, but genres of middle grade and up into like high school age. But wondering if any of you use it or.
TikTok itself is primarily draws young people as an audience, and so yes, it's more geared for the, not geared, it draws from that population for the book end of it as well as the other. It's just each one of the social media types has its own sort of niche that it tends to serve. It doesn't mean that old people like me don't get on there, but it just means that the way I approach things, or the kinds of things I'm apt to be interested in, aren't as interesting for most of the people there. So my share of that potential audience is smaller. Doesn't mean it's not worth going after. It just means that it's going to be smaller. But let me jump into that other section again, because it has the real world, and we've been talking a lot about it. So non-social promotions. I went to a site called janefriedman.com. That's one of those where different people post articles and that. I guess you'd call them blogs, but I call them articles. That's how old I am. I wanted to share this with you, which was a little bit that she pulled out of the thing. There's been a certain, there's an outfit called MAMSIS for these, that most people credit with these statistics. But there is for any posting or whatever that you put up, there's a shelf life. for that. And I found this fascinating. On Twitter, it has a shelf life of about 18 minutes. Part of that is a function simply of the barrage of information that's being sent out. Unless you're attached to some huge somebody like Taylor Swift, for instance, and you've got 25,000 people that are following it. But usually this stuff can be very short. Facebook, about 5 hours. The flow of information is such that after 5 hours, now I will go on and find things that people posted on my site, on my pages, 2 or 3 days ago, sometimes up to a week. I look at every one of those simply because I'm the one that caused the delay. But anyone who has lots of messages flowing into them is not going to read their older stuff. They're just going to skip over it and go to the current because they just don't have time. Instagram is about 21 hours, they said. LinkedIn is about 24 hours. Videos, like on YouTube or on any of these sites, can be like 3 months because people stumble across them and they look entertaining and they'll draw their attention. And then blog posts, Palela, 2 years. That thing's going to rumble around out there in Google and everybody else, and it can be active for 2 years with people.
My most popular blog post was written in 2017.
Yeah.
So it's well over 2 years and still rumbling out there.
That's great. Yeah, these are the average times for all of those. So it depends on your topic, what a good writer you are when you write the blog, your placement, where you put it, your optimization that you do so that you get it on the lists up towards the top. I was so surprised when I first started the INWG-guild.com for the group, and I went out and Googled for it to see, and it was the first one that popped up. Well, part of that is because there isn't any other critter called INWG-guild. So depending on how rare or common your primary words are, that's going to affect it too. There was a gal that I grabbed on there because she, and I think it was this Carol Michelle, she's now promoting her book without social media. She used to be on social and she went totally off, with the exception of going on and checking with her friends and her family and stuff. She shrunk everything down. And so this is how she's been doing it, and she's been doing very well, she says. It's a list of the first 12 things that she's used. An author website. See, again, there's that website. Everybody agrees that that's the major thing you want to have. Then a blog. She's now set up her system on WordPress, as is the Guild and my other ones. She updates it at least once a week. You were talking about you doing yours once a month, but that's her, who knows how she's doing her blog and what length it is. And she uses MailChimp to send an email to those who subscribe. And I think MailChimp is something you can just buy into on WordPress. Then
You can get MailChimp and MailerLite for free.
And then she's got an email newsletter that she sends out. Yeah, you can. I think on WordPress, it depends on the level. You have to be a middle. In other words, WordPress also has its free site, and then it has, middle priced and then upper priced professional. And so that will affect what kind of email things you can do through them. But like you said, investigate and see if you can get it in some other fashion. And I'm going to look into Constant Contact because the store has used that, and I want to see what cost will be on there. Send out an email newsletter, do guest posts. We mentioned that before, because they will, and when you do that, ask them to include a link back to your website. So you're getting, it is like a business in town that gets the newspaper reporters to come and interview them because of some event that they're doing or whatever. And then the newspaper includes the address of that site. And if they have a website, they may have that. So again, it's just getting your foot in the door so that your information can be put before the public. Have a YouTube channel. She says, I have a small micro channel with per video views measured in double digits. Okay, like 10, 20. Why bother? Shrug. I enjoy making the videos. A video might reach another dozen people. So if there's something fun that you like to do and you don't mind it not being a big deal, then go ahead and think around with it. Professional organizations is something that you can do. If you have a professional group that's involved with the topic that you're focused on, you might want to join them or be a part of them. And if you can get them to review things on their platform, they are looking for content too. So just look around and see what you might have available. She says, I also belong to a local writing group, which helps me keep track of local opportunities for promoting my book, as are some folks here. Guest appearance on a podcast or radio show. Frank has his podcast that he does, and I've been on that before. I was representing Auntie's bookstore at the time and recommending mysteries. Review copies of my books. She sends out books for free for review. So that's something to look into, see, because again, every time you get attention for a review, that book and that review is going to be put up somewhere and drawn to people's attention. So if you send it out to Sally Mae, and Sally Mae happens to be a real popular reviewer, and she puts your book up on her site, then don't be surprised if you get some sales, because people, that's the influencer for you. A LinkedIn presence, she's there because she's a professional. She's a gardener and teaches gardening. So then she says local bookstores like Auntie's. She has local bookstores that promote her books or have them in store. And don't forget author fairs, libraries, historical societies, and others where you can set up a table sometimes and sell your books. I know that there are a lot of craft fairs done in Spokane for the related to the schools, and we have some authors, primarily self-published with SAS, the Spokane Authors and Self-Publishers Organization, and they can sell 20, 30 books at a craft fair at their table. So you have to weigh kind of what can you sell versus any cost. You may want to go with another author or two so you can share the expense. Sometimes that will help. Let's see. Then something called entrepreneur.com. They suggested different ways too. TV news. Sometimes, do you ever see in the TV shows sometimes where they've got somebody locally and they've maybe the person has gotten attention, like they're an important woman doing some kind of volunteer work in the community, and maybe there's a connection to something that you're doing for your book that would interest the TV news to come. They're always looking for content. Talk radio, Kickstarter, if you need money to help fund your book marketing, you might try Kickstarter. I don't have time to go into the details of all this. Next year, I'm hoping to focus on a few of these things more in depth. Goodreads, 50 million readers find books to read on Goodreads. Okay. Then there's Amazon, Author Page, KDP Select, Book Awards, book fairs, writers conferences, social media. I like the one Book Trailer. You can do a little short blurb film video and like a little movie trailer. And I'll see those every once in a while from the publishers on Facebook. And I have to tell you, I'll see one and it'll say that the video's there, and this is from a national, and I'll go to it and look, and there's only been maybe there's 10 or 12 people that have seen it, one comment, maybe I'm the first one to comment. And quite frankly, I do that because I want the publishers to see that I'm participating. It's important for my end of the thing because I do a lot of book reviews for them. So that's my way of keeping my toe in the water. Read a book about marketing, you never know what kind of tips you might pick up. There's one called ProfNet. ProfNet is like a reporter, a freelance writer, television producer is assigned a story, and they need to find one or more people to participate in their production of something about that story. So they'll place a query on ProfNet, asking an expert who could speak to the topic. Now, you may say to yourself, well, I'm not an expert. Well, there may be some areas that you're not aware of that you are an expert in. Maybe you're an expert in having had your back broken by somebody that was trying to do massage work or something, and then how you, you know, you never know what you might be able to connect with in a story. But generally an expert is somebody that they can point to and say, you know, this person is an MD or they graduated, you know, whatever from whatever university, and they're a big muckety muck in that area, so we're going to listen to them. and then there's book signing events, and sometimes that's in bookstores, and sometimes it's in other places too. If a bookstore doesn't seem to be happening for you, she recommends in here things like setting up a signing in a bake shop. We've got TV and newspaper coverage for that one. So there's a lot of times when you'll think to yourself, oh, nobody's going to be interested in this, or nobody's going to want this. Well, if the other people you ask about it, if they're willing to go along with it, then they want it in their little store. And then if the news people think it's interesting enough after you contact them, they're going to want it. So don't ever assume you know right off that people aren't going to be interested in something that's too boring. I mean, think of all the boring things. I mean, did I say that? No. Anyway, okay, that's all for my written stuff. So we're almost at 8 o'clock, but I want to see if you do want me to send you this long thing, because I'm going to put some of this on the website when I get to it. But in the meanwhile, I'm happy to send you this if it'll help you see it in writing. Just pop that into the chat, pop your email address in there, and I'll send it to you. I highly recommend that you get your foot into the Guild's website if you haven't already. I'm doing the whole thing for you guys so that you will have a place to reach out in the community. I'm going to start focusing in this new year on actually doing a better job of sending out things that will draw people's attention to the site, and they will come and want to see what it's all about. So, but I had to get enough material set up in it so that it wouldn't be a disappointment when people did check in.
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
I talked to somebody a while ago and mentioned that I had no luck at all with signings and that sort of thing. And she told me that a person sitting there on a table with a book next to him is not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So she says, if you bring some stuff that illustrates what you're writing about, big placards or something really interesting, particularly if it moves,
Mm-hmm.
then that will attract them and bring them over. She said she had maybe 10 times more interactions with people when she started doing that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, stop and think about when you go in a store. or when you go shop, do anything, you know, what are you apt to respond to? Because you're a human being and so are your customers, hopefully, that you're trying to draw. They're just human beings and their lives are full. They don't have a lot of time and attention to waste. So give them something worthwhile, something that they feel they should bother to stop and look at it.
One thing she did is she put a poster and taped it to a quadcopter and then flew that in the store.
That sounds great. Yep. As long as you don't hit anybody, right?
Yeah.
I got a book on capital punishment.
Uh-huh.
Any ideas, Paul?
Well, you might have a big knife with blood all over it.
A working guillotine,
Yeah, if that's in your book.
maybe a miniature one with a pickle or something.
Is it a nonfiction or fiction, Mark?
Fiction.
Okay.
I just actually am going to send out letters to unsuspecting agents right after Thanksgiving.
Mhm.
I'm working with my editor. I did that today and last week because I've never really put a cover letter or query letter together. And so I need someone, with, you know, who knows more than me.
But do some short videos and set up a monitor where people can see it and then run those videos. That ought to attract them.
Although the miniature guillotine is actually available. We had a medical
Yeah.
researcher in our group that just passed away here a couple of weeks ago, and he used to experiment on lab rats, and he brought a miniature guillotine that was about 12 inches tall where they used to behead the rats to do their samplings.
And I'm curious how he passed away. Did that have anything to do with his experiments?
No, he had actually had a heart attack, but he was really old. Yeah.
Ah,
Harsha, you,
I'm so new to the group, so I don't know. Are most of us self-published? Are we all, or is most of us self-published?
I would think at this point, most everybody here is.
Okay, so Kirkus reviews, if you've looked at doing any Kirkus reviews, they do review self-published authors' books, and the rules are different. If you're traditionally published or hybrid published with a press, then you need to submit your application for that review before the book is published. But for self-publishers, they allow you to do it after publish. So that's something to keep in mind. It's just a little tidbit that I found out. And I did pay for a Kirkus review for one of my books, and so they accepted it. So they must, that's already published. So that must be true. So just keep that in mind, maybe. Hey.
Looks like Paul has invaded our screen with
Yeah.
something, a miniature guillotine. Can we get that back off, Paul? Thanks.
yeah, I'll take donations to buy one of those. And I'll put a little plaque of all contributors in brass, you know, right by the basket.
If you drop by any place where you can get magazines, you'll find that most of the magazines that deal with books have extensive now reviews of self-published or in what they call independently published books. So things have opened up quite a bit. I don't know, besides, I'm thinking of doing one next year on agents and some of these other topics. Be sure and let me know. You can email me if there's something that you particularly want to see covered. We've covered things broadly this year and previously, and I think I want to drill down into specific smaller things so that we can deal with them more in depth. I think it would be helpful for people.
Yeah.
I would like to ask Tarja a quick question. Did you
Sure.
see any big movement when you got your review from Kirkus? Was it worth the money?
I'm waiting for it. I haven't received it yet. It'll be
Okay.
coming the first week of December. And
Okay.
it cost me, I bought an accelerated one. It cost me $450.
Yeah, they're not cheap.
They're not cheap,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
it's considered like the gold standard in reviews, I think. I don't know, that's kind of what I've read and heard a lot in literature, but thank you for the question. And then I would also like to ask if I could have Sandy. Sandy, I'd love to stay in contact with you like a little bit one-on-one too, because you write kids' books and poetry, because my books are poetry.
That's really cool. I put my email address up
Okay.
there on the chat, so
Okay.
it's there under SM.
Thank you.
I'd like that too. I just wanted to say that a former student of mine illustrated the 2 children's books that I did. And I paid her for the first one. It was quite a bit of money. And the second one, she and I struck a deal. And so, you know, she gets part of the proceeds from all 3 books that we sell.
Mhm.
So I'm not much of a marketer, obviously, but I've had a lot of fun with those children's books, really.
You know, that Kirkus review thing, I actually have my first 2 books, both had Kirkus reviews, and it kind of helps. You know, I put them right on my website.
Hey.
And I even have the link to go to Kirkus. And I use it.
Okay.
And I use, you're allowed to quote like 30% of the review, and you have to do weird italicized things, which Twitter won't allow you to italicize anything. So I just have to put the link to there or something.
Okay, but you found it helpful. It actually kind of moved the needle and got people paying attention, stuff like that.
It gives them, you know, because they are professionals.
Mhm.
And so it gives you a little bit of gravitas. Look at there, I used the big word.
I understand it's helpful if the book is good.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, all my reviews there were good. And I had one guy give me a 1 star on one of my books that Kirkus gave a 5 to. And then I went back and traced the guy back on Goodreads. And I think he thought it was a different genre than it was, because all he read was Coons and some other guy, you know, the big name mystery
Right.
writer. And he gets into my time travel-y Outlander thingy, and he just gave me there's only 1 star rating he ever gave to anything. And everybody else on Goodreads, you know, that I've been around gave it a 5. So, you get it.
Go figure.
Yeah, sometimes the people that are reviewing are cranky.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, on my Mennonite history book, I actually got a 1 star reading with "Do not order" kind of a thing on Amazon, and I look back just because you can trace the reviewers on Amazon, and this guy hated everything he
Yeah.
got bought, purses, belts, everything on Amazon was always just horrible, the worst thing he ever run into, and his act, to quote him on my review, he says, "tacky penmanship." Was his thing. My book.
That's interesting.
I don't know if he stalked me online and got in my desk drawer and looked at my notepad. I don't know.
Yeah. A lot of people have, there's a kind of a mental thing going on with a lot of people. I don't know what to call them. Socially mental, I guess.
I suspect the guy was a distant relative and he didn't like how I portrayed the Mennonite family, at least.
Yeah, it's
the way he-
hard. It's hard.
So, you know, I know one of my sisters absolutely hates it, but she's kind of a, you know, narcissist anyhow, that particular sister. So
I give everybody on Goodreads all my reviews that I do for the industry and for Goodreads. If there's a thing involved, I give them 5 stars or 10 stars or what have you, a 10 count. because I review it based on, and I rate it based on, do I think the book achieved what the author intended it to?
Ah,
Has nothing to do with my personal opinion about whether I think that, I'll say that in my verbiage if you'll get the point of whether I think the book is wonderful or not by my text. But I figure if the person failed, first of all, I'm not going to review it if I think they blew it. Why do that? Why do negative reviews? That's like somebody doing a negative review of a movie. If you don't like the
Mhm.
movie, you don't like it. So what? And I'm not trying to get people to like everything I like because I'm an individual and so are they. We don't all like the same things, period. So I always try to, my book reviews say think, and the people in the industry love it because I'm saying, this is a book with this kind of mood, this kind of atmosphere, this kind of language. If you're into things that make your skin crawl, you're going to love this. If you're into family history, trauma, you're going to love this. I mean, so I'm always talking to the individual reader about what they like. And I may not care for the whole thing that much, but that doesn't mean I can't say that it's good for these kind of readers.
Mhm.
So it helps when you've worked in a bookstore because you're used to having different kind of customers asking for things, and they're saying, what would you suggest I read? And I say, well, what do you like to read? What have you read in the past? What kind of, because then I'll take them to that kind of book. And then if they say something like, well, they'd rather read something totally different than they've ever tried before, that's when I'll lead them to something that might be something I like. I'll say, now I like this, but I don't know if you're going to like it or not, but try it, if you're looking for something new. And I just think so much of the review business is, excuse my French, but a pile of crap as far as I'm concerned. And kind of misses the whole point.
Mhm.
So,
Linda,
Linda,
yeah,
I don't know who you're answering now.
I don't know who I'm answering.
This is Sandy.
Yeah.
I was in at Numerica and I had my book with me and I was doing some stuff, and there were a couple of guys there and they said, "Oh, you wrote this book?" And I said, yes, I did. And I said, you can find reviews on it on Amazon. And he was flipping through his computer and he says, "Oh, it's on Goodreads." And he said, "Yeah, you got a 5 or whatever." I don't know. I haven't seen it on Goodreads, but because I haven't gone there, but it is nice and surprising to see that it's reviewed somewhere. And I've also had some reviews, not some verbal, some written, from firefighters. So that was good in my case. Okay, I'll be quiet.
If you've not been on Goodreads, you really need to go, because I'm telling you, and
I do.
it's owned by Amazon, but they don't steal the reviews from there and plunk them up on the Amazon site, because if they did, I would have to stop posting there because I will not support them directly.
Mhm.
I'm on there because of the authors, to try to help them, but I'm a bookstore person.
Yeah.
And we're anti whoop-de-whoop. Anyway,
Yeah.
everybody and their uncles on there with their book reviews, and they all go looking, and book clubs go there like crazy. So you never know, they may be looking for something just exactly like what you've written. And you can go on there and you can even get, if you see somebody else doing a book that's similar to yours, there's a book review, check to see who it is that did that and contact them and say, would you have any interest in reviewing? You just follow them and then try to contact them and say, would you like a copy of my book? It's about this to review.
I made a mistake with Goodreads. I did a promo with them right off the bat. I gave away 100 books.
Oh,
Well, ebooks. I gave away 100 ebooks.
oh, okay.
And I had to pay them $200 to do it.
Really?
I thought when I did it, that the people that got the free books had to review it. Oh, no.
No.
In fact, they didn't even read it. They just wanted to join a giveaway. And I think like I've had on that particular book, only like 5 of the 100 actually read it. They just, and all of them gave 5-star ratings, but the rest just didn't bother.
You really, oh gosh, how to put this? You really need to investigate whatever process or idea you come up with and decide you might want to use. Find out what it costs, find out what good it does. Don't make any assumptions, because, try to find people that have already done that. Now we know, Herbert, that we can ask you about what not to do.
I can tell you which publishers, publishing firms not to use too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Linda, are you actually a reviewer on or for Goodreads?
I work at a bookstore, and I have been a buyer for that bookstore of some of the publishers. And years ago, they started sending ARCs, and I was about the only person at the bookstore who would do reviews and turn them in. Now we probably have, I don't know, 5 or 6 people at Auntie's that turn in book reviews. But our book reviews are usually turned into something called Edelweiss, which is for industry people, where we're buyers for the store, and we buy through Edelweiss. And you can go in and get an Edelweiss account too, but just to look up books and stuff. But because I'm a professional on there, I get all these ARCs now sent to me, and I keep reviewing them, and I upload them to Edelweiss, and they turn them, and I put in there, send it to ABA. ABA is the Indie Next list that comes out, and if you see it in the stores, it's a print thing. And I used to get lots of reviews in there, but I've kind of become a strange reviewer in the way I write. So now I don't so much. I did have one in there, I think in October, in the October list, but they come few and far between. But now I see online, I get things that I run into from like Kensington Publishers, and there's a blurb that they've taken of one of my things and stuck it with the book, and it's on social media that way. So over the years, I've developed a kind of a reputation. I think at Edelweiss, I'm considered that I have more book reviews than anybody else.
Wow.
Edelweiss. Yeah, I do tons of them. And so it's just something that I enjoy doing to help authors. And a lot of the authors at the national level that I work on and do reviews for, they're debut authors. It's their first book. And I love first books. They're so, everything about the person and what they wanted to do and their whole heart and everything is in there. So
you're a very rare person. Most people do not do reviews of any kind unless they're complaining big time.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that you're doing this for authors and for
thank you.
the book just for the books,
I love books, and I love the writers. Without the writers, we wouldn't have the kind of books that we have, and it matters. That's where we get our thinking and our ideas, and it matters to every part of our social interactions. I think that's my personal feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Years ago, I was at maybe it was a PNWA. The guy was saying that you get primarily 2 kinds of reviews: people that really don't like whatever you're doing or really like it. And then there are people who really know what they're doing in their reviews. But he said a large part of the reviews are there by people who really don't know what they're doing. And so you got to kind of discount them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's so many different ways and for, to do something like that, as with any kind of writing or any kind of effort that you put into things. There's a lot of different approaches, and this is just one that has worked for me over the years, and I'll probably die with a book on my lap with with a computer where I'm trying to do the darn thing, but we'll see. I love it.
I actually found a way of getting reviews on Twitter because, you're associating with other writers and screenwriters and stuff. I'll trade them reviews. I'll read their book if they read mine.
Yeah.
And there's a guy that lives up in British Columbia. His name is Edjo Aaron. He writes science fiction-y stuff.
Mhm.
And he's a good buddy on Twitter. And I read his one book, and that thing was so complicated and hard and horrible. But I couldn't keep track of it. But he had it was really well researched. And that's how I wrote the review. I says, well, my
Right.
pea brain couldn't keep up with the complicated plot, but I really liked the research, and I still gave him a 5-star rating because he
Yeah.
did a lot of research with that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. There's just people that like to do negative reviews because they get off on it. It's a power play. They think of themselves as an influencer, and they just, who knows? Either that, jealousy. I don't know how many different reasons there are for people to be stinkers, but there seem to be there. Well, have we covered it all, folks?
Yes.
So I'm getting integrity poop. Remember, it's an hour later than it says it is, so we're getting along there. Yeah, if you want a copy of this, most of you have already put there in the chat that you want me to send it. I will do that for you. If you have any questions or anything, you've got my email. So it's been wonderful. I appreciate all. I'm sorry that Eric Schubaugh didn't make it. He was going to be here and talk to us all about marketing, but
Well, he couldn't have told us more than you did.
oh, well, thank you. But his information may have been a little more, it's like the person that teaches you to do Tai Chi here and the guy that's a street fighter out there. And really,
Yes. Yes.
so let's see, what do we got? Some more messages. We got new messages people are saying over here. Okay, nice to meet up. I gotta run. Julie had to run. Hope she's careful. And marketing, okay, gotcha. Okay.
And if anybody wants to attend our meeting on Zoom on the fourth
Yeah.
Saturday, nag Linda. She'll send
nag
the
me and
Zoom
I'll-
link.
She'll send it to me, and I'll try to make sure I get it out to everybody this time. Yeah, I'm dealing with this huge long email list of mostly people who I never see or hear anymore. And I need to figure out some way to cut them all out and just use this group. So I think I'll go back through our videos and pull all the people that have been coming, and I'll just email them. And then once in a great while, when there's something huge, I'll send it to everybody. But
What's this thing on Saturday? A what?
Oh,
Go
so
ahead, Herbert.
that's our bi-monthly critique group in Sandpoint. We actually do it on Zoom also. We meet in person and on Zoom for anybody who wants to attend and don't want to drive to Sandpoint.
What do you critique?
Each other's work.
I mean, so you cross genre and you
Yeah,
still,
yeah, we have Tom Reppert writes historical fiction. Jim Payne writes political commentary, and he travels the world in his kayak. And we have, Amy Midstoke. She actually writes for the Spokane Spokesman Review a little bit. And she's doing a book on when she was homesteading in Sandpoint, after she had a breakup. And there's just all kinds of, one lady's writing historical fiction about Western Washington. I'm currently on my 3rd volume of my Level Austin Honor Series. You're limited to like 3,000 words per submission.
Hmm.
Have
You
to have them in by
submit
midnight Wednesday.
And they submit things in advance, Tarja, by email.
Oh,
you read it.
Yeah. And then I sent, if anybody gets in contact with me that's not on our official mailing list, I'll send them out to them. But we have to have all of our submissions in by Wednesday night at midnight, for the meeting on Saturday. And that way everybody has to read them.
I'd like to attend to watch and see how you do.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll sit next to Paul.
Yeah. I mean, you'll be on Zoom, so you'll be this little square about this big on their screen.
Yeah, it's always fun to find out how it works first and then get decide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
nag Linda. She'll get the Zoom invite and she'll forward it to you guys
All
or,
right.
or
I'm
find.
good.
you
I haven't
on
got
the
out of
rest
the
of-
day, so you won't see me there probably.
No, no.
Not because it's not a good thing, just because I'll be sleeping. Well, gang, it's been swell. You know where
Thank
to
you.
find me, and I know where to find you. Should
Thank
stop
you.
the- Should stop the